Great. It looks like we're live. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Tips and Tricks Audition Transformation Workshop. I am Dr. Stephanie Anduri.
And I'm Dr. Graham Anduri.
And we are excited to be here with you today. By the end of this workshop, you should be able to reframe the entire audition experience in a way that sets you up for success. To preemptively dissolve your fear of failure, all of your imposter syndrome, so that you can be confident in what you have to offer in your audition. You will have an arsenal of tools and techniques at your disposal to do away with stage fright and self-doubt and any other impediments to an engaging audition experience and performance, and also to leave a lasting impression on your audience or audition panel that will leave them wanting more of your voice.
That's right. If you stick around to the end of this workshop today, you'll also get a free Stage Fright Survival Guide ebook. This ebook comes with a whole bunch of it comes with the tips and tricks that you're going to learn today, but it also comes with additional exercises and things that you can do to dissolve your performance anxiety, to get rid of your stage fright, to get rid of some of those pestering issues that get in the way of the best performance that you can give and the best audition that you can give.
Absolutely. And we'll also talk about a course that we are offering beginning next month. Now that it's December, beginning in January, we are offering a virtual Transformative Singer course. And we would love to have you all in there with us. So that will all be included later in this workshop. We have both struggled through our fair share of challenges when it comes to auditioning, to stage fright, to self-doubt.
Yeah, I mean, so we went through 3 different degrees each, and we auditioned for young artist programs and professional companies and all kinds of different things. That we've done hundreds of auditions over the years, and so we've had some good ones and we've had some not so good ones.
Yes.
But we've also been on the other side of the audition table. We've been audition panelists for a number of different things.
I bet thousands. I know we've seen thousands of auditions.
At least. I mean, if you include juries and and all that stuff. But we also, we've served as audition panelists for young artist competitions, young artist programs, for opera auditions, for you name it, regional talent shows. So we know what is kind of happening. We know what the audition panel is expecting and wanting to see. And it's actually quite different than a lot of singers think it is. It's not quite what you expect.
Yes, absolutely. So go ahead and in the chat, just tell us what kinds of things you struggle with in your auditions. Is it imposter syndrome? Do you feel like you're not stable in your technique, or you have some just sort of insecurity around your technique? Or is it, you've consistently been unsuccessful in auditions and you're not totally sure why? So while you are thinking, go ahead and tell us what has kind of gotten in your way, what has impeded your success and your feeling of confidence in your auditions in the past.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know for myself, I used to think that I needed to try to show off how good I was. Mm. I was, developing my technique, and I had just figured out how to sing high notes well. And so I wanted to show off my high notes, or I wanted to show off how big my voice was, or something like that. And so that was my focus when I was going into those auditions. I wanted to show them all the cool stuff that I had been working on, and everybody come see how good my voice is. And I didn't realize at the time that was not setting me up for success at all. Right. So let us know what things you struggle with when you go into audition, and how do those things manifest?
Right. Do they make you breathless, or is your pitch accuracy is a bit wonky, or maybe you are having some memory slips that you've never had before? That's always the most frustrating thing when you're on stage in front of people. Yeah.
I hate that. And, we're going to talk about how to deal with all of these issues and more in just a little while. And then, what kind of remedies can we use? What kind of things can we do to help alleviate these problems? A lot of the remedies that get used, the old ways of doing things, let me share this screen again, are maybe a little bit effective sometimes, but they really don't, they don't get to the root of what is going on. So the old ways of dealing with things like performance anxiety is to just treat the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to the root cause by doing these things. We just kind of shove the symptoms to the side for a while. So things like beta blockers,
Oh, yes.
medicating yourself to not feel
right.
those symptoms.
I was on beta blockers for performance anxiety throughout undergrad and up through my master's degree. And I always ended up feeling less nervous, which was great. That was why I was taking them. But I also got super, super dry. I had a hard time breathing sometimes. And they can impede our lungs' ability to take in air. They can actually cause lung spasms. And there are just a whole host of other problems that come along with them, certainly including that we just feel a little bit less present, a little bit kind of dead inside when we take beta, or at least that was my experience, that I didn't feel like I was able to really connect with my characters and portray them as well when I was taking beta blockers.
The other thing we see all the time is people over rehearsing right before they go on stage, whether that is, memory wise, they're trying to run through their lines to make sure they don't forget their lines. And inevitably, when you do that, you might get that line that you were worried about, but you're going to forget something else because your mind is just not in the right place. If you didn't do the work ahead of time to really solidify the memory, it's not going to just get crammed in the moments before.
Right. I think a lot about the difference between learning material for a test or sort of memorizing material for a test. And I can remember being in school and, just memorizing facts, trying to cram a bunch of facts into my brain before a test versus really understanding the material and being able to share that material or discuss it in depth. And once we get to the place where we are sort of, I call it being inside of the material, being inside of the character, we can understand it from a deeper level and then bring it to life more authentically.
Yeah, absolutely. The other way this comes across is when people are worried about vocal technique in a certain part of this of a aria or a song or whatever it is that you're auditioning for. And so they'll over rehearse that one part, that one high note over and over and over. It's
always a high note.
and once you feel comfortable with it beforehand, then you go out on stage and you've overtaxed your voice, and then the high note is botched because you oversang. So over rehearsing ahead of time just never works. It never does anything good.
Yep.
The other thing that people try to do is they just buck up and push through the anxiety, push through those nervous feelings, push through the fear. And yeah, you might be able to get through a performance that way, but you're still going to be feeling all of that anxiety and all of that fear. You're still going to be struggling with all of the ways that your body reacts to those emotions.
Right. And most likely it will impede your voice in some way, whether that's breathlessness or pitch or memory, stuff that we talked about before. Pep talks, giving yourself a pep talk or asking your teacher for a pep talk. And every now and again, there's a perspective shift that happens within those that helps us often temporarily to feel better about that specific audition. And then as soon as we have another upcoming performance or audition, we go right back into the place where our bodies start to tense and get nervous.
Yeah, so it can be helpful as a temporary fix, like you said. But what we want to help you with is dissolving all of that stuff ahead of time, so you don't even have to deal with it to begin with. That you walk into that audition experience feeling confident, feeling like you own the place and you're ready to show. Not even just to show your best, but you are ready to transform somebody on the other side of that audition table.
Absolutely. And then the next is just to get used to it, to perform so much that you just sort of get used to the feeling of being nervous and singing in the face of that nervousness. There was a meme going around a couple of years ago that made a joke about that you never stop being nervous. You just get used to being uncomfortable. And I really don't think that's true. I think that as you switch your perspective, at least in my experience, the shift goes from feeling anxious before an audition or a performance to feeling so exuberant and so excited to get out on the stage and share my voice and share the message that I'm trying to share with my audience.
Absolutely. The other thing that can happen with this, and I've seen this in a number of people, they don't get used to it. They get worse. They become more nervous because they know what to expect with each new performance. They expect that they're going to get nervous, and then they become nervous about being nervous, and it just compounds on itself.
Yeah.
So for some people, this can actually be detrimental. So rather than just treating the symptoms, which is really the question that you're asking when we're treating the symptoms, is how can I stop feeling this thing that I'm feeling? This is uncomfortable. I don't want to feel this anymore. What can I do to get rid of that? And that's really it's called an allopathic approach, when you just treat the symptom. You just address what you're feeling and get rid of the feeling. And it's without getting to the root cause of that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see this in modern medicine, which first, let me say, I am so grateful for modern medicine. I think it does some absolutely amazing, miraculous things. And in no way am I trying to undermine all of the incredible advancements that medicine has made. But very often medicine is trying to fix a symptom of a problem rather than get to the root of it. We see this when we go to a headache doctor and say, I'm getting migraines every day, and they give us a pill rather than teaching us the meditation techniques or the dietary shifts or lifestyle shifts that will get to the root of whatever is causing the migraines in the first place and heal that so that the migraines don't happen. So we're not treating them once they happen. We are dissolving them at the root so that they don't happen again.
Right. And we see this in all different levels of society, but we see this in voice training in a big way.
Oh, yes.
So, we try to address, we see voice teachers and voice students all the time that are trying to address technical deficiencies, technical flaws, technique hurdles at the point of they're trying to see where they feel that impediment, and they're trying to address it at that point of impediment. Yeah. But they're not really getting to understand why that thing is happening. So for example, we're going to try something. I want you to try, we're not there yet. We're going to have you try something. So everybody go ahead and just tense up your toes and your thumbs. So just like you're digging your toes into the ground and you're tensing your thumbs.
Women, just imagine you're wearing stilettos.
And or guys too. For that
yeah, there you go.
And then as you're doing that, go ahead and just release your jaw, let your jaw hang. And then let go of your thumbs. And then let go of your toes. Do you notice a difference in how much release you're able to feel in your jaw? So often when we feel jaw tension, and jaw tension is one of the big ones that we work on, jaw tension and tongue tension especially, we try to just say, okay, relax your jaw, relax your tongue, don't tighten it up. And we fail to understand that the root cause of that tension is somewhere entirely different than the location where we're feeling it.
Yeah.
And so there's no way that we can really relax your jaw if your body's out of whack, or if you're tensing somewhere else in your body, because the whole system is connected. And so that's really what we talk about with our pedagogy, with our transformative singing process, which we'll get into in a little bit. It's a holistic approach to doing things that takes into account the entire body, the interconnectedness of the human body, as well as your mind, your heart, your emotions, and your spirit, the way that you imbue the music with your spirit.
Yes,
and absolutely. It really takes this holistic approach to do things effectively.
Right. Right. So common beliefs that kind of get in our way, because so much of what we do is actually a psychological thing. Most of our singing impediments, our tension issues or technical flaws, are caused first from an expectation that we have for ourselves, a sound expectation that sort of creates in us a need to produce our voices in a specific way that's not always necessarily authentic to us, because we have this idea, my voice has to be big, I have to push to make it big. And so we create all of these habits around these sound expectations that we have, and it ends up being, or this high note is scary. Oh, look at it on the page. And then our bodies do this tense up thing, and it slows down the breath, and it does all kinds of bad things, creating tension in all different areas in the pharynx and around the larynx. And it just gets in the way. So common things that get in the way for us are looking silly. If I'm too much in character, if I portray Papageno accurately, well, if I portray Papageno accurately, it would sound silly too. Right. But being too much or not enough, I especially see this in young singers with big voices feeling like they're too much, because there's such a weird, a sort of idea about young voices needing to only sing light rep, or young voices not being mature enough to sing the rep that's appropriate for their voices. This is all tricky stuff to navigate. So
people are afraid to take up their own space. Yes. That's a big thing that we talk about a lot, is take up your space, whether it's vocal space or physical space, your emotional space. It's so crucial, and so many singers have a really hard time allowing themselves to take up that space.
Absolutely.
And when they do that, they don't feel like they can measure up to other performers. They feel like they have to compare themselves, like, oh, well, I don't sound like that person over there. They're obviously going to get this gig before I do.
I used to sit in the hallway before auditions. I would go like 2 hours early and listen to all of the singers who were going to sing before me, to sort of compare myself to the other singers. And it never ended up helping. I never felt more confident, because I had heard the singers before me sing the same arias, and probably better than I was singing them. We are not there. We will talk about this. We are not there to compete with anybody else. There's no possible way that we can compete with anybody else. And we'll talk about that again in a moment. The stakes when you're in audition feel so enormously high. You've got 5 minutes to sing your piece, and that's all you get to impress or turn off the judges, right? It feels like the stakes are really high. And when we lead with that expectation,
then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Statistically, the likelihood of you getting a gig from an audition are very low. So expecting that you're going to get something at every audition that you do is going to make this a really difficult experience for you. It's just not the way that auditions are set up. You've got maybe 100 or a couple of hundred people auditioning for a very limited number of slots. They can only take so many people, no matter how good everybody is. And so when you base your level of success on the outcome of that audition, it's a very small margin for success. It's a small margin of error that you're allowing yourself to make. There are people that have taken this so far that they feel like my entire career is riding on this one audition. I remember this was years ago, watching an episode of American Idol, and this woman didn't make it to the next round, and she said, well, my career's over now. I'm too old. She was like 29 years old or something. It's so silly, but it's so common at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
It's just the stakes are not that high.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that.
Yeah. I've even heard people say they don't want to go do the audition because even though they got invited to audition, they don't feel like they're even good enough to be heard by the panel. They feel like the judges are expecting something better than what they have to offer, and they're not worthy of singing for these people, or they're scared of what the people will think of them.
Right.
Which is just such a sad, limiting way to enter into an audition situation.
Right. So if we're not going to just treat the symptoms, if we really want to get down to the root cause of what is causing all of these symptoms and how to dissolve them from the get-go, we need to understand that behind all of this, we are experiencing a perception of threat. And this was kind of a fun little picture that I found.
We're not necessarily expecting that the Grim Reaper is going to come after us if we botch a high note, but
it sort of feels like that sometimes. We feel like the audience or the audition panel is like this monster or this group of an angry mob that's going to come after us with torches and pitchforks if we botch a high note or something. And obviously, logically we know that's not going to happen, but our body responds to this perception of threat in some pretty astonishing ways. So singing is inherently a very vulnerable endeavor, right? We are sharing something really personal and intimate with our audience when we sing. As you like to say, the voice is the sonic manifestation of our souls, of our essence, of our spirit. And what happens is we become identified, we get this ego identification with being a good singer. We feel like we have to be a good singer. And
that becomes the goal.
Yeah. So what is that? I shouldn't have stopped sharing the screen here. So a good singer, you get this good singer complex. And that includes having perfect technique, having perfect musical accuracy, creating a beautiful sound 100% of the time with no mistakes, no flaws. And we have this idea that the technique is the goal. Like I was talking about when I was auditioning as a younger singer, I wanted to show them my technique. I was techniquing at them to show how hard I had worked at everything. And it really just doesn't do the trick.
It does not. So the problems with that, I mean, there's, first of all, just an enormous margin for error and a tiny little margin for success. If your idea is, in order to be successful as a singer, you have to be a good singer who has all of these things in line, the perfect technique, the perfect musical accuracy, there has never been a perfect performance. Pavarotti, on his best performance, had a million little flaws that, I'm sure if he listened back, he would judge himself for.
Oh, he talked about that too.
Yeah.
He said there was never a perfect performance that he did, but
Right.
he always tried to do a little better the next time.
Right, absolutely. And that's always going to be the case. There's never going to be a perfect performance because it's not supposed to be perfect, because music is supposed to be human and connective. And humans are messy. We are not math, right? We don't have an exact formula that fits each of us. And so the expression of all of the emotions that we have musically is not a precise or clean process. It's a messy process, and it must be in order for us to relate to it. So there's this huge margin for error, tiny margin for success. We have this impossible standard of perfection that we're trying to uphold, and we assume that everyone else is holding us to the exact same standard, which is never the case. No one is really expecting perfection out of us. And we have this enormous fear of making mistakes or messing something up that causes us to be rigid.
So what happens when we experience all of these things? When we experience these fears, these anxieties about performing, about what happens if I screw up? What happens if I'm not perfect? What happens in our bodies? So some pretty crazy stuff is what happens. Yeah. When we start to feel that perception of threat kick in, then all of a sudden the sympathetic nervous system kicks on, which induces the fight, flight, or freeze response. And when this happens, our bodies get flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. And cortisol is traditionally been called the stress hormone, although it does a lot of other things aside from just kick in when we're stressed out or cause stress. It does good things for us too. But when we're flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, we're ready to either get into a fight with somebody to protect ourselves, to run away as fast as we can, or to freeze and hide in place and not do anything at all. That's what your body is preparing itself to do.
Right. And it doesn't know the difference between, like we said earlier, an angry mob full of pitchforks and an audience waiting to hear you sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's as threatening to your body, and your body responds in the same exact ways when you're feeling nervous about a performance that it would respond if there were a gunman chasing after you.
Right. And when this happens, all of the energy resources in your body are pulled away from things like your digestive system and your immune system, the systems that are necessary for living, and they're redistributed to the muscular system to be active, to be strong, and to your cardiopulmonary system to get oxygen to flow to your muscles. So that's what happens when we start to feel like dry mouth, and our minds don't quite remember everything the way that we want them to, and we have digestive issues. Your stomach starts to hurt. Your body is preparing itself to fight or to avoid danger somehow. Your mind anticipates that threat, and it tells your body to respond in this way, We get faster, shallower breathing, so it's hard to get a good breath.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice becomes tense and harsh, or maybe it becomes shy and weak.
Right, depending on how your body wants to respond. If your body wants to send you into fight mode, you're likely to get harsh and sort of strident sounding. If your body is in flee mode or in freeze mode, it's more likely that you get breathy and really quiet as your body is preparing to be totally silent so that your attackers can't hear you. Your attackers, by the way, are the audition panel in this case.
Which is we're going to find out is totally ridiculous. And that's part of this perspective shift that we're going to talk about. The other thing that can happen to your enteric nervous system, that's the part of your nervous system that governs your digestive tract. It starts to create excess stomach acid, which causes a whole host of different digestive problems. You get cramping or bloating, or you can get diarrhea.
And nobody wants to sing high notes
when
you've got tummy troubles.
Sweat glands can go into overdrive. People talk about getting sweaty palms, or they start getting pit stains on their formal dress or whatever. None of that's fun, and especially if you're playing an instrument, sweaty palms don't help you at all. And then the old saying, paralysis by analysis. You start to overanalyze everything that you're doing, and you get so stuck that you can't make a move. You can't make a choice to do something. You just get stuck thinking about it.
Absolutely. And then when you start analyzing everything that you've done, every mistake you've made, your brain is in that mode when you're trying to think about what comes next. And that causes a bunch of memory slips. It's hard to stay present and focused where we're supposed to be.
Right. So we can see that all of these old ways of dealing with this stuff, beta blockers, over rehearsing, pushing through, pep talks, feigning confidence, just performing more and more, none of that is really doing much to alleviate all of these symptoms, all of this stuff. It's putting a Band-Aid on it and shoving it away so that we can try to deal with it later. And you will deal with it later. So what is the new way?
So the new way is what we call transformative singing. It is about connecting, and it's about connection over perfection. So we are connecting with our audience rather than focusing just on ourselves and on the technique being perfect. Whether you're in front of an enormous audience at Carnegie Hall or in an audition with a single judge who is looking at you with scary face, or even alone in your room singing to yourself, it's about connection.
Mm-hmm. And really, this is a mindset transformation. You transform your mindset and you will transform your experience, whether it's in an audition or a performance or something else that has nothing to do with singing entirely. Any aspect of your life, we are called Sing for Your Lives. It's because there are so many life lessons within these voice lessons.
Yes.
When you transform your mindset, you transform your experience.
Absolutely. So we ask our students to always ask themselves, did I make someone feel something new? This is the measure of success.
Mm-hmm.
Did I make someone feel something that was a new experience for them? Or did I myself feel something that was new to me? Did I open up a new world to myself? Did I understand something from a different angle? If this is your goal, then you look beyond the unattainable idea of perfection and you allow the technique to serve the emotion rather than the technique to be the end goal.
That's right. And you that's how you leave that lasting impression. When you sing, when you perform to make somebody feel something that they've never felt before, they remember that. They remember the way that you made them feel. You leave an impression on them. So even if you don't get the gig from that audition, they're going to remember you favorably. And it's highly possible that you can get a different gig, a different opportunity from that audition, from that failed audition.
Yeah. Dustin Hoffman famously got The Graduate after not having auditioned for The Graduate. He auditioned for a different movie and was not cast in it. He was by all interpretations, not successful in the audition. But then he got the role because the director saw something in him that was really special. He got the role that then created his career. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, now we know him as Dustin Hoffman, the great actor. And this all came from a botched or a failed audition.
Totally. A similar thing happened to me when I was in graduate school. I was performing in a competition, and I didn't win the competition, But one of the judges came up to me afterward and said, "Hey, I really need a Brahms Requiem soloist. I really loved what you were doing. Would you mind coming and singing the solo for this?" I'm like, well, yeah, absolutely. So even though I didn't win that competition, I still got something positive out of the experience, because I was being honest and emotionally authentic in what I was doing.
Right. Absolutely. So the idea is that technique and musical accuracy are definitely important. We are not saying don't learn the notes right, don't learn the rhythms right, don't learn the words right. We are saying learn those things, but understand that they are not your end goal. Just like driving a car, steering the wheel the right direction and pushing the gas the right amount to go the speed that you want to go. Those are all important components, but your goal is not to push the pedal the right amount. The goal is to reach your destination. Yeah. And in our case, the destination is a transformative performance experience where we feel connected to the audience and where we share a story that has the power to transport them to Absolutely. A different experience. Yeah.
So connection is the goal. Perfection is not a thing that we can achieve anyway, but technical mastery is important. It's not at all saying, "I'll just go be sloppy and make as many mistakes as you can." Do well, do your best, but recognize that the technique serves the emotion rather than the other way around. Right. They're not there to hear your technique. They don't care about the technique. They care about how you make them feel.
Yes. And at a certain level, also, all singers are going to be technically proficient and are going to have lovely voices, people who are auditioning for professional roles and professional gigs. These are all people who have had the same type of technical experience that we've all had. And it's not at that level. It's not a means of finding the best singer, because all of the singers are good. Mm-hmm. It's not about finding the person with the most even vibrato, because we've all sort of equalized at that level. It's about picking the person. The director is choosing the person who can transform the audience the most authentically and the most fully.
That's right. A big epiphany for me at one point was realizing that the expectation is that you are already good. You're not there to show them how good you are. They expect that you are good. Mm. If you show up to an audition and you are not good, then you shouldn't be at that audition to begin with. They expect that you're going to be good. They just want to find the person that's going to fit what they need for that particular production, or for if it's a concert or for a choir or for whatever the case may be. They're looking for somebody to fit the thing that they need. And maybe that's you, and maybe you sang an amazing audition, but you're not exactly what they need for that production.
Right. You're not what they had envisioned already for bringing their specific story to fruition. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that you're not good.
And it doesn't mean that you didn't succeed at that Correct. Audition. If you left that audition making them feel something new or making them feel something intensely, like I said, they're going to remember it. And if you don't get that gig, they might call you for another one afterward.
Yes, absolutely. The panel wants only to know that you can transform them and move the audience. They want goosebumps. They don't just want pretty sounds. Pretty sounds don't transform people, right? No pretty sound has ever fed a starving puppy or has ever saved a burning building, right? It's people who imbue those beautiful sounds with emotion and with vulnerability and with the energy of whatever story they are trying to tell.
Absolutely. And that's whenever we've served on audition panels, that's what we look for.
Always.
Do I feel something? Do I get those goosebumps? I don't care about the technique that they're showing me. I want to feel something, because then I know that the audience that's going to pay money to come see whatever show it is, they're going to feel the same way.
Right. Because the audience is not coming to see the performer. They are coming to be transformed themselves.
Yep. So, this whole idea of mindset transformation is incredibly powerful. And if you can embody this, it's going to change the way, it's going to transform your entire experience surrounding auditions, surrounding performances, and really it changes your mindset on life itself. And it really has for us, and it has for countless other people that we've worked with. But it takes some practice sometimes. I mean, we had our own experiences where we sort of just had an epiphany about this and we just went with it. And for some people that works really well, but for others it does take some time. So in the meantime, while you're working on that, we have some different tips and tricks to help you deal with some of these issues ahead of time before you go into the audition room. that will really put you on the right track for success in that audition.
Yes. So the first one that we'll talk about is intentional affirmations. And this is one that I use all the time. And he reminds me to use them all the time. So this sort of stemmed from the first time I ever really tried using intentional affirmations. I was singing the role of Christina Jawulska in Jake Hagee's Another Sunrise, which is a one-woman opera about a Holocaust survivor. And this was a woman who was a political prisoner in Auschwitz. It is an extraordinarily moving and touching story, and Jake Hagee and Jean Shear are just beyond brilliant in bringing her story to life. And so the first time I heard this opera, I wept, and I thought, this is something I have to sing. I have to get this into my voice and into my spirit. I have to share her story. But then in the process of learning the opera and in knowing all of the challenges, the musical challenges, the vocal challenges that I was singing, it was probably written for a voice a little bit lighter than mine. And so I was trying to navigate all of that. And my first performance of it was going to be at a high school at 8 o'clock in the morning. And high schoolers, I don't know if you know this, are not known for being the biggest opera fans. And so me singing this at 8 o'clock in the morning at a high school felt like a daunting endeavor. And I was tired, and we had just driven several hours to get to the town where we were doing this performance. And I was just not looking forward to it. And I kept on trying to warm up my voice, and it just wasn't working. And Graham, I said, this isn't going to work. I don't want to do it. And he said, change, which is a word that we give each other quite a bit. I took a moment and I shifted my perspective, and I thought, you know what? This is a story that I feel compelled to share. And this is exquisite music that feels like it is part of my spirit now. And I'm excited to share her story. It's a story that needs to be shared. And as soon as I did, I began singing again. And it was like somebody had transplanted a different voice into my voice. Everything was easy. Everything was free. Everything was honest. And it felt so lovely and so expressive and so easy to create. And so now I do this almost every time I practice. If I feel like anything feels sluggish, if I feel like anything feels heavy, or anything that doesn't feel ideal, I remind myself how much I love to sing and how just beatific my voice feels when it's in its freest and most expressive form. And then my voice follows suit, always, without exception.
And this sounds like maybe new agey kind of frou-frou stuff, but there's incredible science to back this up. When you have a thought, your body, whether it's a positive or a negative thought, your body creates the conditions for that thought to become the reality of your body. So you get these electrical signals coming from your brain going through your nervous system. And then you get these chemical signals going from your endocrine system to the rest of your body to create the conditions that are synonymous with that thought. So if you're thinking, gosh, this feels terrible, and I just can't sing, and nothing's working right, your body's going to create that reality. Your body's going to create the conditions for that thought to become your reality. If you shift that thought process to something like she just said, I can't wait to do this. I'm so excited. My voice is going to be amazing with this. Same thing happens. Your mind creates a series of signals to tell your body to create the conditions for that reality. And it's immediate. It's been miraculous to see the way that works with her. I've done it myself. We've had our students do this, and without fail, these positive affirmations, switching your thought process to something that sets you up for success. God, it works every time.
So good ones that we found are my voice is powerful or purposeful. I deserve to take up space with my voice, or I have something important to share or to say with this song. I am overjoyed to tell this story today.
You can create your own. Those are just a few examples that we've used before. And they all work really, really well. The other one is, I'm going to go back to this screen share here. The other one is called logotherapy. And logotherapy was developed by Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, actually, and a psychologist. And logotherapy, basically, it's almost like reverse psychology in a way. So people would come to him with different fears, different phobias. There was one man who had a fear of sweating in public. So he avoided public places because he felt like he was going to sweat too much and it was going to draw negative attention to him. And so what Viktor Frankl did is he said, okay, I want you to, next time you're going to go out into public, I want you to sweat as hard as you can on purpose. And so this guy tried it, and lo and behold, no sweat at all. He was fine. Basically what it's doing is it's giving you permission to fail. It's giving you permission to not be perfect. Or like, as I like to tell my students, give yourself permission to suck. And when you do that, it takes away that expectation of perfection, and it allows you to exist in a more natural state. So when you do what you are afraid will happen on purpose, oftentimes that thing just ceases to exist because you're putting your intention on making something happen rather than avoiding something. And so I do this all the time with students who have problems with cracking on a high note. I'll say, well, I want you to crack that high note as hard as you can. And when they do that, they're giving their full energy to the high note, and then it sounds great 9 times out of 10. Yep. It's when they hold back, they're withholding energy from that high note. That's when it has the most problems. That's when it really does crack.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing that we like to use is, let's see. So there's a singing sublimation exercise that we like to do. Mm-hmm. I like to imagine when I'm singing this exercise, my spirit or my essence is sort of a ball of light that can be any color that you associate with your spirit, with your essence, with who you are at your core. And I just like to imagine that for a while. If I close my eyes and I breathe into that spot, I can feel a sense of warmth, like a life force within me and right at my heart center. Then I imagine whatever I am feeling that is impeding that, like performance anxiety, as a shell that covers up that ball of light, that essence. And as I sing, as I breathe in, I imagine that shell cracking open. And then as I sing this exercise, and it can be any exercise that works for you. I have a specific one that I like to use that I'll share in a moment. But I imagine that shell just sort of bursting open. And as I sing, it moves off of that ball of energy that is my essence and clears away so that I am not impeded. And then I can feel that ball of energy as it sprawls throughout my body and around me and beyond me to sort of flood my energy field, if you will.
Right. So this is a great one to do in your warm-up session right before you go into an audition. As you're doing your warm-ups, you can try this, and it's not about the notes that you sing. It's about the intention that you put into it. And so when you have that intention that she just described, it can really go a long way towards dissolving those feelings of anxiety, that performance anxiety, those fears that we have about singing. So the one that we use is just an octave arpeggio.
We go E to A. So it can be any combination of vowels that you want. It can be any exercise that you want. I just love the idea that it opens for me as I get up to the high note. And then I can feel that sense of freedom in my voice as I move back down through that exercise.
Right. And we've done this with students that have seen incredible benefits immediately from doing this exercise. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to try that in your pre-audition warm-up routine and see how it helps you. Maybe not even in your auditions, just do it right now. Absolutely. And see how you feel afterward.
Right. And bring your full awareness into the idea of that ball and the shell that is impeding it lifting off of it.
Mm-hmm. The other one is, I left one out here, but the superhero pose. So standing in a pose like a superhero, there have been a number of studies over the past decade or so now to show that your posture, the way that you hold your body, affects your hormone balance, affects the chemical balances in your body. And so standing in what are called high power poses, that are open, confident looking poses, it increases the amount of testosterone that your body produces. Now, testosterone creates a sense of confidence It creates a sense of risk. You're more likely to take risks, which is why adolescent men do really dumb things, from what I hear anyway. They're just more likely to take risks because of all this testosterone coursing through them. But women have testosterone as well. And so we advocate for just standing like a superhero. You can stand like Superman or Superwoman. And you do this for 2 to 5 minutes. And just in that 2 to 5 minutes, the amount of testosterone that you produce goes up. The amount of cortisol, remember that was sort of the stress hormone, starts to plummet. And so just doing that for a couple minutes, and they in these studies that they've done, they found that people that held those high power poses for just a couple minutes before going into a job interview were, I forget the exact numbers, were significantly more likely to get a job than people that sat in a low power pose, a closed off pose before that same interview process.
Yeah.
An audition is basically like an interview process. And so if you go in with that confidence, that boost of chemical confidence, it's not faking confidence. You're really feeling it. You really feel like you can go in and own that arena.
Yes, absolutely. And then the last one is parasympathetic nervous system stimulation. So we have a giant nerve in our bodies called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, whenever we stimulate the vagus nerve, it pulls us out of fight or flight and back into rest and digest mode. So this is where we want to be when we're calm, when our bodies are working, our metabolism is working, and everything feels like it's easy and it's free. So the ways that we stimulate our vagus nerve are by deep breathing, which will stimulate all at various points along the vagus. It'll stimulate the entrails, like we talked about, the viscera. It'll stimulate the heart and the lungs. It also, anytime we begin singing, it stimulates the vagus right at the larynx as well. So we are really like bringing that vagus nerve to life every time we sing. Humming and deep breathing are really, really fantastic ways. And also emotionally intentional singing are really fantastic ways of stimulating that vagus nerve to bring us out of fight or flight.
Right. And one of the things that we have started to experiment with is that intentional deep breathing that we do right before we sing. And so when you deep breathing just by itself is great, but it's often not enough. It only lasts for a little while. But when you have these deep breaths, when you breathe in for, say, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you don't hold the breath, but you allow it to kind of hang suspended for a moment, and then you breathe out slowly for about 7 seconds. So it like this, you breathe in. Through a small space. As you're doing that, bring your awareness, bring your focus to feeling an emotion of either love or appreciation or gratitude. And there have been a whole host of scientific studies to show that when we do this, when you have this type of intentional deep breathing with an emotional intention behind it, it brings us into a greater state of heart-brain coherence. Your heart waves and your brain waves sync up, and all of the systems in your body start to work more effectively and efficiently. We get back into that rest and digest mode where your body is just in homeostasis. It's operating at a more optimal level. But so we've done our own experiments with this. And when we do this sort of intentional deep breathing for about 3 minutes before we sing, and then we maintain that same emotional intention as we sing, that same level of coherence is measurable. We have a little biofeedback device that measures coherence levels. It not only maintains that same level of coherence, it actually boosts that coherence level once you start singing with that same emotional intention, if you preempt it with this intentional deep breathing exercise.
Yes, absolutely. So this has been fantastic. If you have found this workshop to be helpful so far, then we know you will find enormous benefits from experiencing the full transformative singing process. We work through better technique and understanding your own body and the sensations associated with free and easy and solid technique. with fulfillment and joy. You will find so much more fulfillment and joy with sharing your voice. You will find so much more self-confidence. You will dissolve performance anxiety and leave a lasting impact. You will find a profound sense of purpose in your voice and a much deeper understanding of both your voice and yourself. We use our voices as a tool for self-discovery, for illuminating whatever lies hidden within you, whatever reactions that you have or beliefs that you have not even recognized that you held. Neuroscience has said that we are only in charge of 5% of our brain activity. We're only aware of 5% of our brain activity. So our bodies, most of the time, 95% of the time, are in autopilot. We don't even recognize how the beliefs that we hold or how the experiences we've had in our past are influencing the choices that we make every day, all day. And we use our voices as a means of discovering what lies within us.
Right. And the transformative singing process has already helped countless singers. This is Hillary Ginther says that this course allows singers to find their authentic voices using techniques that help free the singer rather than entrap them in a set of rules. Stephanie and Graham Dury care about human healing and connection through the voice and have years of research, teaching, and training that can truly help change the mindset of the singer and unlock their highest selves as artists. And then Sidani Smith says, Stephanie and Graham Dury are the type of pedagogues who not only balance technical mastery and emotional connection in singing, but are supremely gifted at guiding other vocalists who also experience this balance. Both young and seasoned vocalists alike can massively benefit from transformative singing. And then, here's just a smattering of some other folks that have taken this course or have done workshops with us. So what we have to offer here is this transformative singing course called Foundations of Holistic Vocal Technique. It's a 5-week class that begins January 11th, and it's for 75 minutes every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, but it's available not just synchronously. You can come live, but you can also have access to these videos to view at your own on your own schedule, and you get lifetime access to these recorded classes and all of the other materials that you're about to see here. On its own, this course is valued at $200 for these five classes, but it also comes with all of these other additional materials.
So we've got a course book that comes with it and is designed to go beautifully with this course. It's a $67 value, access to 12 live transformative talks. These are just the most fascinating discussions that we get to have with leading experts in various fields that are somehow tied to music. We've done violence and music,
we have one coming up that is the psychology of singing that is going to be outstanding.
Absolutely.
You don't want to miss.
Heidi Moss will be joining us for that, and she is just an absolutely brilliant mind and an extraordinary presenter. So please join us for that. You will have access to 3 transformative singing in-depth workshops, to 4 transformative singing master classes, and you are more than welcome to come sing for those or just to attend to see how we work with other singers. To a monthly research newsletter, to a demystifying the breath ebook, a releasing tension ebook, and also the stage fright survival guide ebook, which we talked about a little bit earlier in this workshop. Membership discounts and an archived event access, and then also a certificate of achievement. You can get 6 to 12 hours of professional development credit if you are an educator, a music educator, and you need that for your credentials.
Absolutely. So all added up, this comes to a total value of $547 with the course plus all of these added materials. We're going to be releasing this at full price in just a few days for $219, which is already less than half price. It's a huge discount. But today, for the next 48 hours, we are going to offer this to you for only $159. It's just a fraction of the price. So if you've been waiting really patiently for the Stage Fright Survival Guide, it's finally time to do that. If that's all that you want, if you've gotten everything that you got, everything that you came for out of this workshop, and you just want that ebook, then that's totally awesome. You're good to go. All you need to do is put the word ebook in the chat, and we'll send you a private message with a link to get that ebook. But if you really want to fully embody the transformative singing process, to sing better and to live better, to see where this can take your voice and your mindset, then go ahead and type the word course in the chat right now, and we'll set you on the right track. We'll send you a link, and you can we'll get you singing like you never knew you could and feeling like you never knew you could.
Yes.
So
thank you all so much for coming. This has been a total joy for us to be with you this hour today.
Absolutely. So I'm going to come back to this thing. So again, if you just want the ebook, type ebook. If you want the full experience, go ahead and type course in the chat. This applies whether you're watching live right now or if you are watching this as a recorded video sometime in the future from now. Leave that same comment in the chat, and we will get to you right away. If anybody has any questions about anything that we've talked about today, please leave a comment in the chat about that as well. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week.
Yes. Thanks so much.